Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you the spoilers for the new Light Structure deck. So we are going to be, over the next 5 weeks, we're going to see a Structure deck on Mondays, and today we start with Light and Fairy Tales. So let's jump right in with our ruler, Millium, Prince of the Light Palace. So this is the child of Grimm. He fights alongside Fairy Tales as friends. So he's a human ruler, light attribute, judgment cost of 3, 2 light and a colorless. And energize, he gets to produce white if he's on the draw with his will coin, and then you can pay the attribute cost of Fairy Tale Resonators with Light Will. So I think this is a little bit pretty good. This is a reminiscent of like old style Grimm, but it's just that you can pay with particularly Light Will. So it does still force you into a color, unlike Grimm, who was able to play with any attribute, as well as the fact that he doesn't have a search. But he flips over into the voice of a new generation. First off, just gonna say it, this card art is awesome. I'm really digging it. It's really intense. Really like these like swords that they all seem to be carrying, him and Grimm. So he's a 9/9 human. When this card enters your field, put the top card of your Magic Stone deck into your field, so it gets to ramp you when you move forward. You may pay the attribute cost of Fairy Tale Resonators with Light Will, and he says whenever this card attacks or blocks, force 1. So the way this new mechanic is, we roll a die based on the number of force that it says. So in this case, we roll a 6-sided die. Put X +1/+1 counters on this card, where X is the result of the roll. So this essentially means that he continually gets stronger as he attacks and blocks. This force mechanic is new. I kind of like it. It adds a little bit of chance and randomness to the game. Obviously, it's going to be very important as a high-level player not to depend on force, because you could end up just getting a bad die roll. But if you use it purely what it's meant to be for, as like a bonus, if you see it as being a bonus, then I definitely think that this is a mechanic that has a lot of place in this game. Then we move on to Kid Puss in Boots. He's a 1-drop 1/1 Fairy Tale. When this card enters your field, force 1. Put X +100/+100 counters on this card, where X is the result of the roll. Whether it was a new power or the cat's own abilities, no one was certain. So it's cool to see Puss in Boots come back. It's interesting that he's a kid now. I don't really understand that particularly, but anyway, it's cool to see again. He's not terribly overpowered. He can be a 1-drop 7/7, which is okay, which is pretty strong, but he could also be a 1-drop 2/2. Again, it's a card that you don't want to depend on force at the high-level competitive play. So this is definitely something I think that fits really well into the deck for a lot of fun, but at the high-level competitive play, I don't think this card is going to see much play, because you have to depend on that force mechanic, and that's not something that we want to do. So this is Grimm, the King of Fairy Tales. He's a little blurry. He is a 3-drop 8/8. He has Pay Light Will, and he gets Force 1. And it says Fairy Tale and Human J/Resonators you control gain X00 plus X00 until end of turn, where X is the result of the roll. Play this ability only once per turn. So he gets a 1-turn force buff by rolling and then getting that bonus to everything on his side of the field that's a Fairy Tale or Human. Pretty strong. His stats by themselves, the 3-drop 8/8, is pretty good as well. I definitely think, again, this is in the mindset of force. It is a bonus. It is not something to be dependent on. I definitely think that's cool. And I think it balances out nicely with the fact that it's only until the end of the turn. Then we have the 2-drop Light Dress Cinderella. Cool to see Cinderella not being evil anymore, or in her Valkyrie form, so this is a new form entirely. 2-drop 4/4. When this card deals damage to your opponent, you get to search your deck for a Fairy Tale, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. And then, this is the best part, you can rest a recovered Resonator you control to give her flying until the end of the turn. But here's the thing, she is a recovered Resonator you control the turn after you play her, because she doesn't have swiftness. So you can play her, wait till your upkeep, rest her, and then recover her, and she's a 2-drop 4/4 with flying, and you're going to get a search that turn. This is really cool. This is interesting that the search mechanic for Fairy Tales has been kind of detached from the ruler. I definitely think that this is going to be something that is going to be fun to utilize. Again, we have Tinkerbell the Fairy. She is a 1-drop 100/100 Fairy Tale / Fairy. Cool to see another Tinkerbell come back. She has flying this time, hooray, and she gains +2/+2 for each other fairy tale resonator you control. So, here's the thing. The old Tinkerbell was a 0/0 who gained +2 for every fairy tale she controls, including herself. So if you negated her for some reason, she just auto-died. And she didn't have flying. This one, we have 100/100, so negating her ability won't auto-kill her. She has flying now, and she only counts other fairy tale resonators. So this means you can't go like turn 3, turn 1 Tinkerbell, turn 2 double Tinkerbell, 600 damage at your face. You can still do that, it'll just be only 500 damage, and it's a little bit overall less of a value there. So I think it's cool that Tinkerbell's kind of coming back in the same vein, and we get this kind of affinity for fairy tale cards. We'll just have to see kind of what other fairy tales we get to kind of back her up. Infectioneer Hansel, he is a 2-drop 5/5. And then when this card enters your field, search your deck for a card named Magic Sweets, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. And you can tap him to gain 200 life. So he's a search mechanic and he's a life gain mechanic for a 2-drop 5/5. That is pretty good as a that is pretty good for a fairy tale, and it's pretty good in that 2-drop slot. Then we have the Gourmand Gretel. So the confectioner is Hansel, he makes all the treats. Gretel eats all the treats. She is a 3-drop 7/7, and then you prevent the first damage that would be dealt to this card each turn. It's pretty good. That means that she can't be really blocked effectively to be able to kill her, even if she's crashing into something pretty big. And in order to be able to actually do anything to her when she's rested, you're going to have to hit her twice. Even a burn spell will just be wasted on her the first time it hits her each turn. That's pretty cool. We have Magic Sweets. It is a 1-drop quick cast chant that says target J/resonator you control gains +2/+2 and barrier until the end of the turn. Now, barrier is a new keyword that we have that indicates something has hexproof. It can't be targeted by spells or abilities your opponent controls. So now, to save some text space, we now have a keyword that represents being hexproof, which I think is a really good step in the right direction for being able to save text and unclutter cards. So now we have finally a keyword to go along with that. So that's pretty cool. This is a pretty sweet card. Just that quick bump and protection is really nice, especially since light is kind of designed to be the buff and protect attribute. So that's kind of cool. Then we have Manifestation of Power. Honestly, this card is crazy. So it's a 2-drop chant with quick cast, and it says choose one. So you can destroy target addition, which is really awesome because we need addition hate in the game. And then, or you can recover a target resonator and draw a card. So you can swing something twice or recover something that's going to need to block, and you get to replace Manifestation of Power in your hand. For a 2-drop, this is a very strong card. I'm very excited to see where this card ends up, especially with me going to Worlds. I definitely think this is a card that's going to see a lot of play at Worlds. Then we have the Fairy Tale Kingdom Light Palace 2-drop edition. When this card enters your field, draw a card, so it cycles itself. And at the end of your turn, recover target fairy tale or human J/resonator you control. This is crazy with Millium. So Millium can swing, get a buff, get recovered, and then block and get a buff. That, I think, is a really awesome mechanic. That ability for light to be able to kind of still defend itself even after it commits to attack, I think is going to be a very strong card. Summoning Magic of the Fairy Tale World. So it's a 2-cost chant, and it says search your deck for a fairy tale, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. But if your J ruler is Millium, then you get to search for up to 2 fairy tale resonators, reveal them, and put them into your hand instead, then shuffle your deck. So this is essentially Circle of Trust, but for fairy tales. I think that's cool, again, that we are seeing, it's almost kind of like a Grimm effect in a card, which I think makes sense because you have Old Man Grimm here, summoning a bunch of things out of the book. For 2 will cost, you would search for 2 fairy tales, and you would obviously never see this card be played outside of a Millium deck. I'm very excited that this is not Tele-Fairy Tale. I was worried when I first saw that it was going to be something like Tele-Fairy Tale and you'd be able to bring them into the field, but nope, it's just a hand, so I think this is pretty good. Search for any fairy tale, but they just go to your hand, which is pretty awesome. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what you guys think of the new mechanics, the new keywords, the new cards, whether or not you're excited or not for Fairy Tales. Like, comment, and subscribe as always. And until next time, this is DMO73 signing off.